And I fell in love with his children instantly, and then had two more children, and then one of our boys died, and then our world exploded.
There were many times where a man would get up and leave, but it was rare back in the 1800s, early 1900s, for a woman to get up and leave.
When my son died, he was only 16 days old. So my breasts were still engorged with milk, my uterus was still contracting, and I had this trauma.
Hi, this is Sifu Slim, author of The Aging Athlete. In this book, you're going to get to hear about two different groups of former high-performance athletes. One group, which is made up of 90% of the former athletes, does not do physical activity on a regular basis and tends to suffer the consequences of a sedentary lifestyle. The other group, which is made up of 10% of the former athletes, is doing physical activity on a regular basis and tends to thrive through the aging process, or at least has a better chance at coping with the aging process. We could have taken these folks to a lab and done all kinds of tests on them. Instead, we slowed them down and sat them down and asked them, in their own words, to describe why they're wired the way they are, so that we all, former athletes and non-athletes, can use some of their inspirational and motivational and mindset lessons in our own lives. I hope you pick up a copy today. You can go to theagingathlete.com, and when you have a chance to read it, I'd love to hear back from you to find out what your thoughts are on the stories of these aging athletes.
Hi, this is Sifu Slim. I'm coming to you live from the indoors. Who am I? I am the author of a few books. Here's book number 1, Sedentary Nation. This is a book that looks at lifestyles and compares them from hunter-gatherers to farmers, industrialists, and the modern day couch, desk, car, potatoes, all of the busyness that comes with the modern era. And in here you can see I compare that to our ancestors in 1910, and the book's subtitle is The Answers Aren't Found in the New Millennium. They're in 1910, and that's an interesting story, and I've got some videos on YouTube about that. And what do? Well, people hand me things because I'm very coachable, and here's a book somebody handed to me recently. This is all about the plight of someone who is a Japanese martial artist and a sensei, and so it's how he went from being kind of a young punk to like a guru type person, someone who's mastered lifestyle, martial arts, etc. Somebody handed this to me, and they knew what I needed because I had so much going on. They said, you need to chill out, sit down, and do some sitting practices, and that's what I've been doing in Hawaii for about 6 months. Recently, I transplanted myself for the summer over to Austria, where I'm learning German and working on book number 3. Book number 2 is The Aging Athlete, and book number 3 is an offshoot of that, more destined to teach coaches and parents how to handle children and athletes along their very busy lifestyles of productivity. And I'm tapping into some female power and some female wisdom and some female energy all the way back in Oahu. And I'm going to bring in Christina, and she can tell you a little bit more who she is and why she is and what her goals and aspirations are at this lovely time in 2017. Welcome aboard, Christina.
Thank you, Sifu. How are you?
Sifu's doing great over here in Austria, Österreich, and so pleased to be with you because you and I have had this on our list for some time, and now we finally get to share some thoughts and things from the heart. So I'm so glad you're here.
Well, I appreciate being here, and I'm so happy that I met you. I'm really anxious and excited to be able to have a conversation with you. I love your mind, I love your mindset, and I just think you're fabulous. So I just want to say that up front. And hello, everyone. I'm Christina Marie. I am the owner of Expanded Consciousness LLC, which houses all of my work. So I'm a published author. I have a book called Navigational Skills for Step Families. It's a workbook. And then I have this book. It's called Courageous. It's called Stories of Courageous Vulnerability, and we have 40 authors from around the world all sharing their stories of courageous vulnerability. It's a very beautiful book. It's like chicken soup for the soul, except for everyone shared their own story using their own voice, and it's really beautiful and powerful. So this is actually available for free if you go to my website. So just so you know, you can read it for free, 40 stories around the world. So that's what I do there. And then I work with biological mothers and stepmothers. I try to get these women to really be with their physiology and try to get their physiology humming before they even deal with each other and the children and the husband and the father of the children, because I really feel strongly that a woman in her physiology, when she keeps herself humming, she's able to handle the rest of her life. So my programs have 3 pillars: self-love, open heart, reverent communication, and the foundation of it is mending fences while building bridges. So the whole concept is everybody matters. Even when the family expands and the family landscape expands, if we hold reverence for everyone, which starts with ourselves, things can harmonize more quickly, and I call that reverent time, because it's not really quick. It's not a quick fix thing. It's more like in reverent time, as you're taking care of yourself, things begin to shift naturally. So yeah, that's what I do.
So Christina, thanks for bringing that into our minds and some of your intentions. So they can people can get a hold of me at Sifu, S-I-F-U, Slim, which is like sensei, SifuSlim.com. And how would people find out more about what some of the programs are you're offering, Christina?
Christina Marie, Expanded Consciousness. That's my website. Very simple.
So Expanded Consciousness is the website, or Christina Marie?
Christina Marie and Expanded Consciousness. So it's just Christina Marie, subtitle Expanded Consciousness.
So where's the .com go?
Oh, very good. Christina Marie Whinnery.com.
Got it. And spell the Whinnery for everyone.
Whinnery.
E-R-Y. Fantastic. So we'll have those links below for the people viewing this on YouTube. And the intentions for me were based on female energy saying, hey, you've got this lifestyle program and this wellness program, fitness and learning and tapping into self-mastery. I would say that self-mastery is one of the top portions of what I work on, and that fits under the realm of lifestyle. So people often in the modern era we've been taught that there's a pill, an injection, or some therapy that can fix a problems from A to Z, and that's what we've been taught. But if you master lifestyle, you're going to learn with intuition and with knowledge and with feeling and with your heart open and your mind open. You're going to learn how you operate your own operating system, because everyone has a different operating system. You're going to learn how you work. And my intention is to slow people down. I know we're in this fast-paced world. We've got lots to do, and then we need to rest and recover with maybe an empty mind for a time, and let the brains recharge, and the mind, body, spirit, and the karma, let that all figure out where it needs to be in balance. So how do I tap into people? Well, I say firefighters, men and women, they mandate themselves to do an hour of physical activity in most jurisdictions in the United States, and that's good for them so that they can handle their very challenging job when the call comes in and they have to go out and save someone and save some property or an animal. Their physical activity has them ready to do the physical stuff, but it also translates to a mind that has some balance, so that when they're going up the ladder, they may have the physical, but they may have to balance doing 3 things at once and having fire coming at them and someone screaming and then people down below handing them stuff. You need to have mind, body, and spirit in some sort of happy alignment to do that. So that's what I'm trying to do, slow people down, also get them out into nature on a regular basis, get them grounded, which means feet or part of their skin touching the ground for 80 minutes is best. And that allows the electron transfer to happen and puts you in the same state as the animals who are getting grounded all the time if they live, even on concrete, which is not a good place for most animals. Some, that's a good place, but most no. But they're getting grounded, concrete, ground, sand, grass, etc. So those are some of the things I'm trying to do. And the reasons why are because my sweetheart girlfriend way back in 2008, she told me to take this program out there and help people, because I was able to help her with her very challenging and busy schedule get to know herself better than she had in her 33 years on this planet. So you tell us a little bit, Christina, about some of your motivation and will and sharing. Why are you doing this?
Well, first of all, the story actually begins a long time ago with my childhood, actually, because when I was a little girl, I didn't have any dreams or ambition. I just wanted to have 6 children and get married, and I felt like that was a worthy ambition to have, to raise humans to be good people. And then I ended up marrying a man with 3 children. And I fell in love with his children instantly, and then we had two more children, and then one of our boys died, and then our world exploded, and I got divorced. And from the time I met my husband which was almost 30 years ago, to now, I've been working with step families and building my education and listening to step families from all over the world, and mothers, fathers, stepmothers, stepfathers, and mostly the children. And I'm talking about children when they're 5 and children when they're 45 who are children of divorce, and what they carry and what they've learned through it. And so I have this huge collection, massive collection of listening to the voices of children, listening to mothers, fathers, everybody. And so I just started to really create something, and I keep scaling it down, and I keep scaling it down. And then what I got was the 2 women in each home. So there's co-parenting, and then there's the space in between the homes, and then there's what's going on in each home. So it's not enough to say 2 parents, and that's all that matters, is the biological mother and the biological father, because the children are experiencing everything, all of it, and everyone, and they're picking up everything, all of it, and everyone. So it's a part of their world. You know, so to create something where we're mending fences, which represents the original family, while we're building bridges, which is the step family. So then everybody gets to be safe, and the children can climb the fence and run across the bridge, and they feel cherished no matter who they're with. It doesn't matter. The point that matters is everybody's held. So recently, since I moved to Hawaii, I've been really digging deep into indigenous cultures and how there's this 3 circles. So the first circle is all the children, and then the next circle is all the women, and the outer circle is all the men. However, you could be a woman in the man's circle, and it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, as long as everybody's holding everybody. So in America, if you look at the divorce statistics, and you look at the step family statistics, and you look at how children, I mean, if you look at our world today and you just feel into the vibration of that, we are doing the opposite of cherishing and holding ourselves. So how can we hold our children? You know, so I just keep nailing it down, and I really got the beauty that is inside of a woman and her physiology when she listens to it. Especially hormones plays a big, big part of this. And so we live in a culture that doesn't acknowledge hormones. You're not supposed to have them. You're not supposed to talk about those things. And I think we're suffering because of it. So what my goal really is just to get people out of, I work with the tone scale too, to get people just above the line, and then they could do whatever they want, because I don't believe everyone needs to be an enlightened master, but I just would like everybody to be above the line, and then they could do what they want. You know?
I got it. Yeah, the situation with families is a problem, and it's not that it wasn't a problem in my parents' generation and in prior generations. They oftentimes, because of the need, financial and economic and support structure, back in the industrial times and in the agriculture times, the women often did not leave, and there were many times where a man would get up and leave, but it was rare back in the 1800s, early 1900s, for a woman to get up and leave. You know, this was the house, this was the hearth and home, and these were children that needed to be cared for. And how was she going to walk out with her skill set and start anew, unless she had already found another mate, perhaps? And so that was a common situation just a few generations ago. And then when the mid 20th century happened, the divorce rate skyrocketed. Amazingly enough, that came right in sync with when the birth control pill became prevalent, which was in the late 50s and the 60s. So the divorce rate climbed at that time, and there was this separation of need. The economic need wasn't there. So if there was belligerence, if there was abuse, or if someone just got tired of living in that communal home and hearth and home setting, they could get up and leave with more ease. And then when finally the deadbeat dad and the deadbeat parents law started to be enforced on the economic level, the woman, let's say she left, or whoever wasn't the breadwinner left, they had more access and enforcement for receiving some sort of benefit, or if they kicked out the other partner, they had more economic chance to receive some sort of a benefit from that other spouse. It's never been a done deal, because there's always this thing of what if the person just doesn't go to work and has no income. But these are things that we've seen in just the last generation and a half that prior generations saw very seldomly. Any comments on that?
Well, currently there's over 100 million Americans that are living in step-family situations or have step-family relations. And from an economic standpoint, it's funny you mentioned economics, because this week what I'm focusing on is my chapter, Navigational Skills for Step-Families, which is a workbook. And the chapter is called The Emotional Power of Money. It's called Act of Grace, The Emotional Power of Money. Now, navigational terms, Act of Grace is a document, and it's a document where you're going to go as you navigate through your sailing, right? So Act of Grace, the emotional meaning of money, the emotional meaning and power that money has over people. I deal with clients who they're not in survival. The children are fed, there's houses, so there's no real economic problem other than their need for their children to have everything all the other children have. So most of my clients, it's like, I'll give you an example. My child wants $300 sneakers because his classmate has $300 sneakers. And I am the mother, and I say the father should buy those sneakers, right? The father does not buy those sneakers. And so the mother says, your father doesn't love you. If he loved you, he'd buy you those sneakers. And then I'm a little boy who's carrying around, my dad doesn't love me because he didn't buy me those sneakers. And there's a father who's saying, you have 7 pairs of $300 sneakers in your closet. You don't need another pair of $300. I'm not buying them. And there's no reality to this child's thoughts that his father loves him very much. The sneakers have nothing to do with it. It's that game that people play. So for me, I do understand that there's people struggling economically, but there's a level of abuse and ugliness that's going on that has nothing to do with anybody needing anything. We've come so far from what really matters that mothers and fathers, they procreated, they made these humans, and they're just at war with each other, and it's because of money. You know, and so the courts used to be designed where money was one issue and child support and child custody were 2 separate issues, because a child is a holistic person. You need to feed a child and you need to love a child, and you're not going to take love away from the child just because one parent can't feed the child. You know what I mean? So there was like some kind of safety in that. But now, you know, people withhold their children. They teach their children not to love the other parent. They teach them all. And it's all because they haven't really looked at their personal relationship with money. So there's suffering in the world, true suffering, where children are suffering and parents cannot put a roof over their head. Those are not the people that come to me. They can't afford to come to me. The people that come to me are the people that have excess, and they have more, and they want their children to have more, and it's never enough, and you know, you should buy it, and we should send them to this $7,000 camp for 2 weeks, and if you can't do it, then you're a loser. It's a different thing. So economically, there's a little bit of a deception out there that parents aren't doing it, and so I'm in that flow this week, actually. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
So this is one stick, and this is part of my hunter-gatherer ethic, and I use this stick for walking. This is, you know, I have sticks in Hawaii and California, wherever I hang out, I have walking sticks, and I use them for exercises, and I use them for acupressure. You're a certified massage expert, and so I use this with a towel over the end, stick that into the wall or the steps or a tree, and then I use that to acupressure my trigger points, which is pretty cool. So I'm just showing you a little bit about my hunter-gatherer. Now, what hunter-gatherer wouldn't be a hunter-gatherer, wouldn't be happy without their bag by Camelback? These are Bodhi bags, those types of things. And hunter-gatherers did this with intestinal sacks and leather sacks, and they walk around, and I don't know if they had this fancy feeder hose for their water, but they had their water on their back. The latest in hunter-gatherer garb I just picked up the other day. These are called Gumbies, Gumbies, and they've got a bottom that looks like a tire tread, and it's pretty cool stuff, very lightweight, and I can actually run in these things if I am running on something that's not very uneven. So more hunter-gatherer stuff. This is my traveling knife made by Pro Series 4. There's their trademark, and I love this because it's serrated, but it doesn't cut me, but it cuts other things, even you know, like the tape off of the boxes that I mail when I travel. So there's some of my hunter-gatherer, and then I'm going to show you my drink. There's one hunk of ginger root, some cloves, some turmeric, also, you know, the curcumin part of the turmeric, and a little bit of Ceylon Zimt, which is Zimt is cinnamon auf Deutsch, and in German it's Zimt. And then I take that and I put it in here with pepper also. I sprinkle in some pepper, that helps the absorption. And I shake this up, and then I've got the cloves in there. And all these things do wonderful things for antibacterial, for energy, for digestion, lovely stuff. So I'm not a pure hunter-gatherer where I'm out there with my bow and I'm living off the land. But as far as hunter-gatherer in 2017, I'm trying to creep up each and every year and join in. There's one last thing I'll show you. I went out and I bought a bag of flax seeds. Here are my handy dandy flax seeds, because they don't have supplement stores here in Austria like they do in the US, where they have like big shelves of supplements. So here's my flaxseed, because I couldn't just walk in and buy omega 369 from the very high-end Udo's company or something like that. So I said, okay, let me try to do it au naturel. And I bought these flax seeds, and then I wanted to make sure, so I looked online. If I just pop these in with my cereal, what happens to the flax seeds? Well, basically they pass right through you. So you have to get a grinder. So I went out to the fancy store 15 miles away from where I am in Kitzbühel, Austria, one of the most famous ski towns of the world. And they had all kinds of grinders. They had 8 different grinders, all hand cranks, no coffee grinder. So I had to go out and buy this. This is straight out of the 1800s or the 2nd century AD. And so I'm grinding my flax seeds with a mortar and a pestle. And this thing's heavy. This thing weighs about 12 pounds. I don't know what it's made from, but it's like you know, a heavy ceramic concrete type thing. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm trying to bring you into the context of when someone asks me a question, where do I go? Well, I know a lot of the modern science. I study that stuff. You can't know it all. Why? Because knowledge doubles currently every 4 years. So you couldn't wish to read all of the latest stuff. There's just too much information. So, but what my default setting is hunter-gatherer, people who had time to learn from their elders, to learn from experience, and to learn through meditation and listening and watching animals what works. And so that's kind of where I'm going to start when we go into our next discussion, which is female hormones. My default setting is history. That allows me to put it into a context of psychology, sociology, from a very historical perspective, not just reading some latest report or talking to a friend on Facebook, which are both valid, but I want to show you where my context is coming from. And maybe you could share where you pull some of your context and your knowledge.
Would love that.
You want to share a little bit? Yeah, you could share a few minutes, and then we'll say goodbye, and we'll tap into the female hormone question.
Okay. So for me, female hormones, of course, starts with my own. When my son died, he was only 16 days old. So my breasts were still engorged with milk, my uterus was still contracting, and I had this trauma. Right? I had this trauma experience that actually, it impacted me on a cellular level, my brain, everything. And so there was grief to be had, but I still also had this living child that I had to take care of. Long story short, I began to realize that the standard therapies, I mean, I did everything. I did rapid eye therapy, every kind of therapy, shaman, I mean, everything you could think of. I was just really wanting to feel like I could go past surviving to thriving. And through that, I studied the brain, and then I studied hormones, and then I studied cellular stuff. And so I just kept studying a bunch of things and putting it all together. And my experiences in my sisterhood groups also helps. And just listening to women for the last 30 years. And, and then I did a lot of studying. And now I'm here in Hawaii, which is amazing because you are allowed to be a girl here. And so I take hula, I flower hunt, I laugh 400 times a day like a toddler. And I'm pretty old, so people aren't really used to that. At my age, I'm supposed to be a little more, a little less happy, because I'm heading towards 50, but I'm not. I'm probably happier now than I've ever been between my meditation and hula. Hula is incredible to be in your feminine. And so I've just really embraced my own nature, which is different from what I was taught in society and culture of what I was supposed to do, what I was supposed to want, who I was supposed to be. The whole feminine movement, I love feminism, but there's some cracks in there, some things that really have hurt us as women. And so needed, necessary, but some things, it just needs to be tweaked again and again and again until it really is holistic. So for me, female hormones is at the heart of my work because women aren't acknowledging that they're angry because they're hungry, that they're angry because they're hungry for everything, whether it's affection, food, being heard, being able to be loved and heard at the same time, not having to pick one or the other. So there's a lot there. So yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to get ready to sign off. So I'm going to remind people again, my website, Sifu, Sifu Slim.com. I have a YouTube channel, and I'm building that, and I've got coming up on 100 YouTube videos up there, and I've been excited and blessed to have some really interesting people share thoughts with me on these YouTube videos, and that's Sifu Slim 2, and you could look that up on YouTube, and there'll probably be a Sifu Slim 3 when I get a little bit higher number, because that would be fun to have different ones. And remind us how people can get a hold of you through your website, Christina, all the info, and then add the .com so they can know how to get there, and then we will sign off and click back on for the female hormone episode.
Yeah, so you can always just Google Christina Whinnery, Whinnery, because there's not many of us, and I do come up first on Google. And you can also go to ChristinaMarieWhinnery.com, which is ChristinaMarie.Whinnery. So it's just easier to do Christina Whinnery. So thank you.
Did you say Maria or Marie?
Marie. Did I misspell my own name?
You misspelled your own name.
That's fantastic.
You need somebody to come by and rub your feet, because your feet affect your brain, as you know from being a massage person.
Oh well, so, authenticity, right?
Yeah, everything's fun. Being silly is good, and I'm a big believer in that. And we'll tap into some of the silliness in our next broadcast. So I'm going to sign off. So toodaloo, schönen Tag from Österreich, Kitzbühel, Austria, and we'll be back very soon.